Hello, welcome again to another edition of Black Bear Medicine Bag. This is your host, C. Walker. Sio, do usti natane, dakote, los mames. With that, with no further ado, let's jump into our trending topic. Minneapolis, the March for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives wove through the streets of South Minneapolis Friday afternoon. State investigators say 700 indigenous people were missing in Minnesota last year. 60% of them were women. Indigenous women accounted for less than 1% of Minnesota's population, but make up about 10% of missing women in the state. Indigenous men also over presence, state officials say. We use this day as a time to increase the visibility of this issue, call on legislation and policymakers to be accountable to our communities and to honor our families and relatives who have been impacted, said Minnesota's Indian Women Sexual Assault Coalition Executive Director Nicholas Matthews. I look forward to the day when we no longer need relatives like this, but we will have to end this violence against our people. But until then, we will take up space in the streets and continue to call for action. All right. I just want to give you guys some figures to go about when I look this up. Well, 84.3% of indigenous women, along with this movement of murdered and missing indigenous women, experience violence. 40% were sex trafficked. 51.3% of indigenous women experienced some type of physical violence. Let me keep on going. 48 were stalked. Okay, I started doing my little research to see how far this goes. There's over 4,000 Canadian Indigenous women that went missing or murdered in Canada in the past about 20 years since it's been going on. In fact, there's a highway called the Highway of Trails that has a great impact on Indigenous people. And basically, this problem is really big because nobody really cares to make an effort. You know what I'm saying? In the government, neither side of the border. You can keep telling the police about what's going on. They seem to just, if you're not white, they'll turn the blind eye and make it seem like it's not important, not really investigated. You have to keep on going back 3 or 4 or 5 times. Versus if it was a white person, you wouldn't have to. They'll just get it right there. I know about a case here in Indiana how they spent years and years trying to find it. If they didn't even find the right person, but they made somebody pay for that murder, basically. But they gave this guy 100 years. But if that was a missing indigenous woman or indigenous black woman, they wouldn't have cared. They would have just swept it under the rug and kept it moving forward. That's one of the things that I did see how you could overcome this situation is that indigenous nations and police departments need to work together, federal people need to work together The groups all need to work together. Let people talk about the trauma that it caused. Because when I was watching the documentary on this, I saw a lot of pain and anguish and sadness among the mothers, the brothers, people who lost this. It really tore them up on the inside. Just imagine for once that you go home and you can't find your daughter or your sister or your aunt that you really love and you really care about, and they've been there since day one. This is a feeling of great sadness that a lot of people really actually did face. And I know anytime that I can't be close to one of my children, I'm looking around like, where you at? I'm calling them out. So I could just, and my heart starts to sink if I ever would lose one of them. So I could just imagine how the parents, the aunts, the uncles, the brothers will feel to lose one of their loved ones who is a woman or murdered, or first went missing and they found them murdered. So all of these actions need to be taken to safeguard. And even if you notice that your daughter is going out, you might want to talk to her. Hey, you don't go by yourself. Because a lot of times what I find is that I work in the criminal justice field. Criminals will go through a door if it's not locked. Criminals and opportunist people will take advantage of something that they see available. Don't let your daughter, your mother, your sister go alone somewhere. Always stay in groups. There is safety in number in groups. With that being said, you want to always, someone always needs to be walk at least two of you, 2 to 3. Growing up over the years, I know that, reading the Bible, Jesus would say, you guys should work in pairs because if one falls down, the other one could pick them up, vice versa. So I think that's a good idea for indigenous people to move in pairs and groups. Don't ever walk somewhere alone, especially on the road, especially early morning and nighttime. I'll tell you one story about a woman who would probably be considered nowadays MMI, or could have went MMIW. There was this indigenous woman from the Dene and the Hopi tribe. And she met my dad, right? She was very outgoing. She was talking about different spiritual beings among the Hopi and the Navajo, which we know as skinwalkers. And she was in an abusive relationship with an indigenous guy. And she broke up with him and she met a white man. And she wanted to do the right thing. And she was telling my dad she was going to visit her ex-lover, who this other indigenous guy who was there, who used to beat her and abuse her. But she needed his permission to marry this white man. My dad looked at her and said, "Are you crazy? Don't you know that he knows that you're going to marry this man? You told him. Why do you need his permission? You told him over the phone, right?" She was like, "Right." I was like, he's like, "Well, if he gets a hold of you, he could beat you or even kill you." She was like, "I'm scared." He was like, "I want you to be scared. I want you to get on that phone and can you call your fiance?" She was like, "Yes. Tell him to send you a ticket." And I was like, "Dad, what happened to her?" She got on the phone. Hopefully she went the right way and she didn't call the abusive man. That's what I was thinking. He said she was very gullible and she was outgoing. And I wonder if some of these Native women are very gullible and outgoing. A lot of times, they're just wrapped up in whatever situation and just trying to live life and being free, but they're not using really enough caution. Or is it one of them situations where they're just walking around and somebody just snatch them up? Or is it variations of different things, especially being sex trafficked? You know, a lot of times they just probably just walking down the street, somebody just grabs them up a lot of times. There's a lot of movies out there nowadays that bring the awareness. I need some of y'all to come out there and watch the show, these different shows about this, and then pay attention. Look for, you know, when you're in a supermarket or you're out and about and you see somebody like that, help them out. Give them a phone. You know, call the police for them. Something. Just don't turn a blind eye, because that could be your mother, your sister, your brother. We got to start thinking like, you know, as a collective, especially melanated people. We got to help each other. We got, right? No matter what, we got. So it's so sad though to see a lot of these young, beautiful women are just abducted. And one thing that I did see about Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, because there's a lot they know in Canada and the United States. There's definitely some serial killers who are killing indigenous women. It's got to be. You know, they just know, hey, we could kill all the women we want. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to go see Matoka. Nobody's going to see, you know, Little Bull over there. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, Jeffrey Dahmer knew the same thing, and he went around killing black people and other people of color, and even I think some natives and Hispanic people. He killed on purpose. Why? He said because nobody would take an interest in these individuals. Isn't that sad? How they know who they pick. That's why you have to become a hard target and fight for your life. If it comes down to it, do not be easy target for these predators out there. These predators are real. You know, one of the things when I work in a correction facility, I do, because I'm a correction officer. I'm always watching my back. Why? And they're like, "Oh, you're scared." No, I'm trying to survive. And you young ladies who's watching the show, when you guys are going out there into the world, watch behind your back. Pay attention to your surroundings. See, I grew up in the hood, right, in the inner city of Indianapolis, and it's almost like a physical, spiritual feeling when you're in the hood. You constantly gotta pay attention to your surroundings, people you talk to. You're kind of leeryous, like you don't trust everybody. It's just like a second since you get into the moment. Like it's not like a good time. Like you're always like, what's this person up to? You cool, but you be like, hey, what's up? I'm not just saying what's up to say what's up. I'm saying what's up to feel you out, to see are you a threat or you're not. So I could get up out there, or I could grab something to defend myself. Whatever I need to do. A lot of times it may seem nice, but I'm feeling you out, you know. I could tell you another story. I should have never did this. And this is all has to do with safety and paying attention. It was about 1 or 2 in the morning. I was walking down the street, and this is the same thing a lot of Native women get into early in the morning. It's dark outside. You're not paying attention to your surroundings, right? And the same thing. But I was paying attention to mine. There's these 2 guys, and they kept getting closer and closer to me. It didn't feel right, so I kept turning around, letting them know I saw them. And they got really close, but I turned around, and then they just like disappeared. Like they wasn't there. They wasn't going to try nothing because they knew I was ready for them. And maybe some of these women, if you're walking by yourself, you need to take a flashlight, take some OC spray. You need to take a pin, whatever you need to get these people up off. You need to do it because people out there are opportunists. They're unaliving you guys for real. They'll unalive Native women, or you will become a victim of assault, or you will become a victim of trafficking. You don't want that. You know, I've heard on the show, better is 1,000 days of running on foot than to get captured in this situation. Is better. You know, give me 5 minutes. I'm gonna take a slight break, and then we're gonna get back to the Medicine Bag Show. This is Anishinaabe, so Eagle Dance music. enjoy while I prepare my other notes. 1 second. Hold up. Let's go over. I wanted to go over another statistics, the number. Before we do that, let's go back. I want to talk about the number of missing people, of indigenous people. And this is a statistic from last year, 2024, March of 2024. All right. There were a report in Florida of 784 people indigenous people, men and women, that went missing. Texas, 97 was reported. California, 58. Tennessee, 50. Arkansas, 31. Oklahoma, 28. Arizona, 24. Washington, 21. North Carolina, 20. Missouri, 19 people. That's too many people. Too many people coming up missing out here. And you guys just need to stay woke, stay alert, pay attention to your surroundings. If something don't feel right, listen to that. The Creator, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever else you call yours, listen to that feeling. He put that there for you. All right, give me a second so I could prepare some notes so we can continue this.
But from the very beginning, football's been a conspiracy to make us hungry. Let me tell you where it all started.
Yes, the first one was Anishinaabe or Ojibwe or Chippewa Eagle song. The other song that you guys were just listening to was the Mi'kmaq honor song. Brings back memories when I was on Lustagush or Rustagush County in Quebec, Canada. When I was up there, made a lot of good friends up there. We remixed that song, and use Little Bootsy, Little Websy song. It's a beautiful thing a lot of times when you could take native culture and mix it with black music, and as far as the songs and the dances. One of the things I want to talk to you guys about today is micro daily EMF. We will be talking about actually cancer and ways to prevent it. There's actually 40% of cancer is presentable if we watch our weight, if we don't use smoke, cigarettes. At one point in time, tobacco was sacred and clean and good. I remember this one Chalagi or Ani Ahuya Cherokee guy telling me that his grandmother told him, this tobacco here is medicine. It's good for your spirit. This tobacco over here is poison. And this was in the early 40s when he was just a boy. And Native people knew that the government made tobacco not safe no more. Another thing that causes cancer is 15% is caused by alcohol use. Then another 2% is caused by 2% is non activity, inactive, and then 1% is made up of poor diet. They say also cell phones may be caused this cancer nowadays. Dive deep down inside. You know, what is cancer, y'all? Basically, cancer is when the cells mutate in the body and they're no longer healthy. All right. I'm not gonna talk too much about this today. I'd rather bring on a friend who could talk to it more. But one of the things that you guys need to know is that vitamin C and vitamin E are very, very good. Antioxidants are very good in fighting cancer. All right. And if you starve the cancer cells from glucose and glutamine, that's how you clear the cancer cells out of your body. That's right. And this micro daily EMF, along with probiotics, can help eliminate, assist you, and help if you're taking chemotherapy, enhance the chemotherapy. All right. I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but from different things that I could tell you, different people have had great results. But this is a product just to assist you in a situation like that, assist you, and to help you with other medications that you're taking, enhance your survival rate. All right. With that being said, let's move on from there. We certain types of cancer that affect people are melanoma. What else is going to be leukemia, and I can't even think of it right now. Well, basically, these different blood cancers either cause the white blood cells, I think it's leukemia, where it doesn't work effectively. And then lymphoma is when basically the platelets in the blood don't work correctly, basically. And so if you're able to eliminate the cancer in your blood cells, basically you could beat cancer, basically. And I know this affects a lot of indigenous people. Cancer, diabetes, and heart disease are very big in the indigenous culture. Now, it's not a culture, it's what affects us, you know, even to this day. With all the processed foods, with all the water, all of these different things in our environment is really tearing our people up and knocking us off on top of the other things that's unaliving us, basically. All right, let's move on. Let's go to another subject real quick. But if you guys want to know about the micro daily, I'll bring somebody on in the next 2 days. Could talk about it in particular in depth about the micro daily product and where to get it from. All right, let's go. Let's move forward real quick. Let's listen to another finish up the song. Give me a second so I find my notes. Give me a second. Okay, going back, thinking about some more memories when I was young, 21, adventurous in love. I'm 40, so that's been like, yeah, some 20 years ago, right? All right, yeah. So back to the final part. I probably won't do part three unless I get a lot of views and you guys say you like it. If not, we'll change it up. I'm always trying to change, make this show better. And I'm back to it. Finding my roots. So we're going to talk about from 20 to 30. All right. So, I graduated from high school and went to college and I joined this indigenous. Let's back up. Let's back up to high school. One of the things I realized in high school was everybody was so intrigued with me being Black and Mexican Indian. They did a paper on me. They was like, he doesn't look like a typical Latino. I was like, hold up. But he comes from a background of Black and um, Chicano, Mexican American, and Native, Yaqui, Apache, Cherokee. They listed all of that and they listed my goals and my dreams and things like that. And I was like, wow, like you guys just like to me in this Mexican world over here is totally different. Like it was strange to me, like, because like I said, back in Arizona, California, Texas, it's not odd. Even it's part of who they are. It's not uncommon for people to have the different people. So, I applied for the scholarship right throughout Puente. And I didn't get it. I even used my mother's surname to try to get it. They picked somebody else, but I think there was some underlying racism. But it was about grades, but still, if you truth be told, I think the darker skinned native people, we got the short end of the stick. It wasn't just me. There was all this other indigenous Mexican guy. Um, he got the shorter end of the stick too. They gave him problems. Yeah, but we just fought through, and he recognized who I was. I recognized who he was. You know, let me backtrack. Let me backtrack back to high school, and then we'll move forward. There, not to high school, but grade school. There was a guy named LaCoy Motley. He was half black and half Apache, White Mountain Apache, in fact. And his mother spoke the language, and we were good friends. And you know, over the years, we just, kind of drifted apart. But one of the things that she said that he told her was he wished she learned the language. Why is it's so important that you do learn the indigenous language, whatever native nation, because within there are certain sayings that you have. There are certain family memories that you could pass down to your kids and your kids. And when the white man stripped us, and when the Americans stripped us for who we are, it took the language away for you to be ashamed, so you could be this ideal of American. And this ideal American is crumbling. America's crumbling right before. So why should we have to take something that's not really ours? Oftentimes, I told my dad, why do I have to speak proper? I'm not white. Why should I have to do this? This is not my language. It never was meant for me to be. But he's like, you can have a good job. But why have a good job when you could be an entrepreneur in a business? See, our people were taught to be a form of a servant to an industry or a group. Our people were never taught to go to be free. Ever since they put our people either on a reservation or put them or took the land away and just made them move to the cities, we have been in a form of servitude and not free for ourselves to think for ourselves and to build for ourselves and to move for ourselves. And I think that me starting this business, I'm starting to realize it's not easy starting anything new or going back to old way of working for yourself, but you must work for yourself. You must do something for yourself, because if you don't, somebody else is going to write your story. I'm so glad that the things that I went through in 2024 has pushed me to have my own podcast and not try to do a group podcast and my own. Why? Because you're working triple hard. You got to do everything they want you to do. Look at, then you got to do yours. Then you got to find time to do yours. When you do your own podcast, you can focus on what you need to do every day. Focus on your own business, which this is another form of a business. And then you could give 100% to yourself. What I realize is get yourself out there. And then if you want to venture off, but don't neglect you. You always got to take care of you first. Then you can help everybody else. But if you don't take care of you and take care of your dreams, it won't happen. I hope I didn't get that far off topic. So let's move forward. So I graduated high school, went to college. I started in a computer engineering. I didn't get that degree, but while I was in college, I did, join this one group, and it was a Native American group that I joined, and the woman was she was very open. I just told her I visited some reses. This was before I met the mother of my first child, from the Mi'kmaq res, right? And I just told her, hey, I went to different res. She didn't, and she said I lived on. I didn't live on them. Not at that point in time. No. While I was in college, I actually a year later did go to the Anishinaabe deal, that res, and then I went to there was in Saginaw. Then I went to, Canada. I went to that res. Outside of that, I lived on both of those res for a little while. And I actually had to, call back home and say, where I'm from and who my people were, my indigenous people. Because, like I said, at the beginning, I'm not an enrolled member of any tribe. I think that would have made it easier. But this is what this led into. Like, I was with the first, or my first girlfriend slash baby mom. I hate using that terminology. Mother of my first child. Let's use the proper terminology. One of her best friends said, you know, a lot of Native people here are feeling uncomfortable that you say that you're Native. I looked at her and I said, you know what? Do you know my mother? Do you know my father? Do you know my grandparents? It was like, no. It's like, all right then. So you can't tell me either no or yes, can you? She's like, no. Then I got her on this type of question. What if you had a child with a black guy or a non-native and they question your child's indigenous status just because he looked black and native? But he didn't carry that card. But you knew who he was and all of his people knew, but he didn't have that tribal card. Does that make him any less native? She looked at me and said, no. I said, why do you treat me that way? She left me alone. So sometimes I tell people it's not what you see on the outside, it's who you are on the inside. And you have to be, when you be native, especially if you're mixed native, you have to be doubly strong, right? If you come from a different group, if you're with two different worlds, you have to be double strong. You have to walk straight in the middle. Don't be partial in either side. Be fair, right in the middle. And that's my experience, you know, because sometimes I did overcompensate being half black. You know, sometimes I'm extra black, right? Sometimes I'm extra Mexicano, right? Sometimes, you know, just because, especially in Spanish, I was extra. But me turning 40, I'm trying to be more in balance with myself, trying to stay in the middle, you know, and things that bother me, I speak up now before I will walk around and hold them in. And I think that that's important. That's why I kind of left the group where I was before, because this individual, I felt like every time I turned around, they were either using my mistakes or my ethnicity against me, like saying, I think you're being fake because you don't talk like this. Well, why would I talk like this around you? Why would I feel comfortable? But around my people, that's my people. I'm going to use that accent. That's where I'm from. I think that people who are mixed learn to survive in two different worlds, or we hold things in and it kills us to the point where we have to go forward, or we just, you know, to us, we know who we are, right? We know both our mom and dad. We know our lineage. It's everybody else who don't know that you have to tell. And then I'm at the point why I have to tell anything. Why? You know, why do I have to explain anything to you? Just see me. Just watch me. You know, individuals told me that I was a very interesting individual. But to me, I'm just living my life and going about it, you know, and trying to find the median in between it. But, you know, a lot of people, guess, will find mixed people intriguing because we live in two worlds versus most people only live in one world, you know. With that being said, I mean, the ups and the downs of coming from a mixed background is beautiful, but it could be ugly. Depends on your family if they love you or not. Depends on if your father and your mother's there. Because there was a period, you know, when one of my parents wasn't there in my life, and then the other one was there. But some people don't have neither one of their parents in the mix. So now they got to figure out who they are as an individual on top of their mixed heritages. So they're going through a lot more emotional things than a lot of people would. You know, I would say be careful who you have your kids with, no matter who it is. You know, I would say definitely oral tradition helped me. If you don't know oral tradition and you don't know who your family is, that's going to make it hard. I give one last thing, then I read my ancestry, because my biggest thing I wanted to do was read my ancestry.com. And let me explain why I believe it and why other people don't, right? All right, so let's go. Okay, so I'll give you a scenario. So my first child's mother, I didn't believe that my dad was mine. It's crazy situation. So we took a DNA test. From that first DNA test, it was through I'm trying to think, DNA diagnostic, right? It said I was from a black group. Well, obviously, I look at myself. Yeah, I could tell racially, or my features is visibly black, right? But then there's the Mexican features, like what my the way my mustache goes. You know, my hands, as hairy as I am. Different small pictures, and then the mother of my children say I have an OMAC head, right? One of the first, and some people say indigenous, some people say ancient black indigenous. I don't know. I think those people could have came from over there because there were Olmec heads on the other side, but who knows? Moving forward, right? I'm thinking like, you're right. So I come from a black group. But what about my mom's side? Where's the indigenous? Where's the Spanish? Where's the African? Right? Where are these markers? She was like, well, and I asked the anthropologist at here in Indianapolis, we have the Otto George Museum. And I asked her, I was like, how come my native blood isn't popping up? She said, they just looked at the largest amount of your DNA. They didn't break it down to see the smaller amounts of DNA that's really there. So this was way back in, my daughter was born in what, 2008? I'm not sure when Ancestry, I don't think Ancestry was that big, or maybe it was expensive. I don't know. I don't know about it. You guys could hit me back in the comments if when you see and tell me it was Ancestry, or maybe it was, but the DNA swab wasn't good, or I don't know. It wasn't big like that. So I knew they left something out. Then when I took the first DNA test I took, it said I was not Cherokee, but I was Anishinaabe. I called them and I asked them, and on the side of the thing, it said this was taken by incarcerated individuals. Like what? It's like, yeah, if you get into the criminal justice system, these DNA companies sell or buys things from the criminal justice. In turn, the criminal justice takes their system, takes their DNA. So there's an exchange of DNA of people. So that's how they get the DNA. So I called, I think it was like Red Lake, Anishinaabe people. And I asked them, hey, did you know your DNA is out there? They was like, no, we didn't even know. I'm like, wow, crazy. I was like, this is crazy. I never knew that, my DNA is linked up to that. But we'll get into that later of where I think it could be coming from. Because my dad, he said his mother was from Mississippi and she was a full blood. And I did see her name on the Das Rose, the Chateau as Chateau, right? And I called the Mississippi Chateau. They said they didn't have her. I need to get a genealogist. So with that be going forward, I don't know. But before we get off here, because I'm not trying to stay a full hour, but if I am, hey, what the heck? Let's go. Are you ready for my ancestry? And then we'll indulge in it just a little. Okay, quote unquote, I got 20% from Nigeria. Yep, that's West Africa. I got 19% indigenous America, Mexico, right? So that's from the Yaqui and the Apaches. It comes from the southeast, from Sinaloa to Sonora to southeastern Arizona. So that region right there is very highly Yaqui territory where I talked about. So it's in southeastern Arizona is too. Then I got 13% of Ivory Coast, Ghana. I do not know them. No, I don't. But at work, they always say that, like every Nigerian say I look like Nigerian. When they see my father, they definitely say that he looks Nigerian. Because I got that 20% you probably get me. Then I got 13% Spanish. I already know that comes from the Mexican side, straight up. I got 6% English, Northwest European. I'm thinking that's from my grandfather's grandmother, who he quotes was half white, half indigenous, but I don't know. But her father's last name was Martinez. And I asked some natives about that. And they said some natives did have Spanish names too. I got 4% Cameroonian. I got 4%, I guess, Western Bantu people. I got 3% from Togo. Then I got 2% from Senegal. Then I got something from Nigeria, Woodland. I think it's like 2% Ireland. And then I got another 1% indigenous America, North America. So, and they say that's some of the oldest indigenous blood, like 4 or 5 generations. I don't know. You know, like from my dad's side, that could be from my dad's side at 1%. But I'm thinking that's off. I think to make anything more accurate, you're going to have to get your parents. That's another thing I'm going to tell you. Get your parents in there, get your grandparents in there if you want to look at that to make it more accurate for that. But what I realized for most Black Americans, US Black, for some odd reason, they only want to give us 1 to 3%. And if you have like somebody closer, I've seen in Louisiana, Blacks have 5%. But that 19%, like I said, is only from indigenous Mexico. My sister got 20%. And through there, we share. It does its own paternity test to show we're both brother and sister for sure. Yes, so you could do a paternity test through Ancestry. You don't have to go through the courts. For all of y'all who didn't know that, it pops up. My cousins that I know are on there, cousins who I don't know that's on there. Those families that are connected, when people say that, that's true. Man, they show me a whole region of Arizona and the region my ancestors are from. I'm like, man, that's crazy. And they show you some genetic things that's wrong with you too. So there's some upsides. Like everybody says, man, that's not right. What I believe is that if you only use your own DNA, it's going to be that much. Then if you use your parents, it should. So the more people that you put on that's closely related to you, I believe it changes and makes it more accurate. All right, then. Well, that's all I got for the Black Bear Medicine Bag Show. I hope I didn't bore you out. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. If you guys got any questions for what I talked about or anything, get back to me. Let me know. All right. Thank you for coming to the Black Bear Medicine Bag Show. Until we meet again. Take care.